Download this code from codegive.com, link in the description below. When using Git, you might encounter an unknown author identity error when you try to commit changes. This typically happens when Git doesn't have your username and email address configured, which are required for commits. Here's a step-by-step tutorial on how to fix this issue. Problem: when you attempt to commit changes, you may see an error message like this. Error, author identity unknown. Fatal, could not write commit. Solution: to resolve this issue, you need to set your Git username and email address. You can do this globally, for all repositories, or locally, for a specific repository. Step-by-step guide. Step 1. Open your command line interface. For Windows, you can use Command Prompt or Git Bash. For Mac OS or Linux, open your terminal. Step 2. Set global username and email. If you want to set your username and email for all repositories on your system, use the following commands. Bash. Git config global user.name your name. Git config global user.email your mail at example.com. Replace your name with your actual name and your email at example.com with your actual email address. Step 3. Set local username and email, optional. If you want to set your username and email for a specific repository only, navigate to that repository in your command line and run bash cd path /to/your/repo. Git config user.name your name. Git config user.email your mail at example.com. Step 4. Verify your configuration. You can verify the configuration by running the following command. Bash git config list. This will display all your Git configurations, including username and email. Example: let's say your name is John Doe and your email is john.doe@example.com. You would run bash git config global user.name John Doe. Git config global user.email john.doe@example.com. Step 5. Commit your changes. Once you've set your username and email, you can go back to your Git repository and commit your changes. Bash git add git commit your commit message. Troubleshooting. If the problem persists even after setting your username and email, consider the following. Make sure you are in a Git repository, check with Git status. Ensure there are no typos in your username or email. Check if there are any other configurations that might override your settings, example repository specific settings. Conclusion. Setting your Git author identity is essential for managing your commits effectively. By following the steps outlined above, you should be able to resolve the author identity unknown error and continue working with Git seamlessly. Certainly. The Git author identity unknown error typically occurs when you attempt to make a commit in a Git repository without setting your username and email address. Git requires this information to track who made the changes. If you see an error message like fatal, unable to auto-detect email address, got, at, it means that Git cannot find your identity information. Here's a step-by-step tutorial on how to fix this issue, with code examples. Step 1. Set your username and email. You can set your Git username and email using the following commands. 1. Open your terminal, or command prompt. 2. Set your username *. Use the following command to set your Git username. Replace your name with your actual name. Bash git config global user.name your name. 3. Set your email address *. Use the following command to set your Git email address. Replace you@example.com with your actual email. Bash Git config global user.email@example.com. Step 2, verify your configuration. To verify that your username and email have been set correctly, you can run bash git config global list. This command will display a list of all your global Git configurations. You should see something like this. User.name equals your name. User.email equals you@example.com. Step 3, commit changes. Once you have set your username and email, you can now proceed with your commit. Navigate to your repository directory and run the following commands. 1. Stage your changes * bash git add. 2. Make a commit * bash git commit your commit message. Alternative, set username and email for a specific repository. If you want to set a username and email for a specific repository rather than globally, you can do so by omitting the -global flag. Navigate to your repository and run bash git config user.name your name. Git config user.email you@example.com. Step 4, check for errors. If you still encounter errors after setting your username and email, ensure that you are in the correct Git repository. Your Git installation is working correctly. You have the necessary permissions for the repository. Conclusion: setting your Git username and email is essential for tracking changes in a repository. Once you've configured these settings, you should no longer encounter the Git author identity unknown error. Make sure to use the -global flag if you want to apply the settings to all repositories on your machine, or omit it for repository-specific settings. Additional tips: if you're working in a team or on a shared machine, make sure the email you use corresponds to your GitHub, or other service, account. You can also configure other settings, such as default text editor or merge tool, in a similar manner. By following these steps, you can easily resolve the Git author identity unknown error and continue working on your projects.